So you guys talked me through this here. It says simplify. So we know we're dividing this rational expression here. So we know because of the addition signs, you can't just start dividing out things, correct? We would never do that, okay? What we'd say to ourselves is we need to divide out exact factors only, and we only know what exact factors we have if we have it factored. So here we go. On top, focusing on top, what did you rewrite that as? What did you factor out? DCF. 7x squared, okay? Then you go back, divide each by 7x squared. So left in the first term is 2x, left in the second term plus 7, very good. Now, that's pretty much factored completely. On bottom, what did we pull out? Okay, so then we divide by 7x, divide by 7x, what's left? X plus 1, very good. I'm glad I'm hearing you say 1, not nothing, like we would have maybe a couple weeks ago. Okay, so then from there, before you divide anything out, you have to restrict your input, restrict your domain, because we can't divide by 0, because then it's undefined, right? So when is the bottom potentially 0, right? Here there's a variable, so that's a potential 0. So you'd say 7x equals 0. When does it equal 0? Divide by 7. So x cannot equal 0. That makes sense. 7 times 0 would be 0. That's a problem. And then also, x plus 1, when does that equal 0? X cannot equal -1. Okay, now we can divide out exact factors. Multiplication, the rule of thumb is with multiplication you can divide out. 7 over 7 is 1 over 1. X squared over x is x on top, right? And then that's all gone, and then that's it. So on top we have 1 times x times that. You can leave it factored, or you can distribute it through. I just leave my answers factored. 2x plus 7, and on bottom we have our x plus 1. That's our answer as long as x does not equal 0 or -1. Okay, good job. I saw a lot of you get it right, and a lot of you were close, so very good. Okay, so today we're doing 4-2. Last time we learned how to simplify rational expressions. We have to divide out exact factors like in the Bell quiz. Today now we're going to take it one step further. Simplification is always the last step with rationals. So now today we're going to take and we're going to multiply and divide rational expressions. So I want you to look back at just multiplying rationals. Remember, these are rationals because they're not expressions because they don't have an x. So if we multiply fractions, I don't know if it's been a long time. Most of us use our calculator. But when you multiply fractions, you guys, all you have to do is multiply straight across. Do we know that? So that's what you can do is multiply straight across. So I want you to look, just look. You don't need to take notes. Just look up here. I'm going to make a point here. There's a point. I'm going to hopefully make a connection for you. If we multiply straight across, don't we get 12 over 12, which is 1, correct? Now, there's actually an easier way. Technically what we had, and I'm going to erase this. So technically what we did, I'm just showing you to help make sense of what we're about to learn. This is really 2 times 6 on top, right? This is really 3 times 4. So now, if you look at that, do you see how we could simplify like this as well? What's 2 over 4? No, 2 divided by 4. 1/2, right, everybody? And what's 6 divided by 3? 2 over 1. So do you see how I divided? Now, don't we just have 2 divided by 2, which is 1. So do you see how we simplified first and then multiplied straight across? Okay. That's what we're going to do with rational expressions. It's actually easier to start here and simplify first and then multiply straight across, not put it all together and then divide. Does that make sense, everybody? So basically what we're doing, you guys, is we're simplifying first and then multiplying the leftover answer. Does that make sense, everybody? Yes or no? That tends to be the hardest. Okay, here, awesome. Okay, so recall when simplifying, you can only divide out exact factors. So when multiplying rational expressions, you should have it all in factored form so you can see how we're able to simplify it correctly. So looking at this, are we multiplying? What we're going to do is factor it all so that we can simplify first. So here we go. Let's factor this piece. What does this piece factor to be? 5, and left in our parentheses will be? Okay, very good. Now on bottom, this is number 3 on the worksheet, right? We're doing the worksheet. Oh, when you guys welcome the board, we're doing the worksheet right over here. On bottom, what's in common? And then left would be W minus 2, right, everybody? Then we have times W over what does this piece factor to be? Well, it's quadratic, so we'd say what multiplies to be a times c, what multiplies to be a times c, what multiplies to be negative 25 and adds up to be 0. 5 times negative 5, isn't my a value 1? So we can quick factor this to be w plus 5 times w minus 5. Is everybody feeling good? So I just factored it. Now what we could do is put this, don't we know that we now multiply straight across and then divide straight down? So what we're really looking at, and I'm going to do this way the first time, you multiply straight across. So on top, leave it factored. Don't we have 5, a w, and a w minus 5? 5, w minus 5, and w. On bottom, I'm leaving it factored. We're not going to put it back together. We're leaving it factored for a reason so we can easily simplify. On bottom, we have a 5, a w minus 2, a w, holy crap, plus 5, and a w minus 5. And now isn't it just simplified? Okay, awesome. So in the instructions, it doesn't say this, but I'm going to add it. Restrict the domain. State the excluded values. So that's when the bottom could equal 0. So let's do that first. W cannot equal for this piece what?
2.
What about that? What about that? Okay, awesome. Now we can divide out exact factors. 5 over 5, 1 over 1. W, nothing. W minus 5, W minus 5. 1 over 1. So what's left? W on top. W minus 2. W plus 5. Did you see how it's literally just simplifying? You just have to do one extra step to know that you're multiplying it straight across. Same exact thing as yesterday, but just one extra step, right? Everybody good with multiplying? Pretty simple. Let's do another example here. 2a and 2b. Oh yeah, get out your little packets. Sorry, I'm not used to that little packet thing. Okay, so we're on 4-2 the notes. Here we go. We're going to go through some of these. So it says, what's the product? State any excluded values. So once again, we're going to factor it. Isn't this one already factored in 2a, technically? Yeah, so we're just going to now multiply straight across, or let's restrict the domain. So it's when the bottom equals 0, that would be undefined, so we've got to restrict it. Isn't a squared a and a? Isn't a cubed a? So a cannot equal what? 0. 0 times 0 would be 0, right? So a cannot equal 0. We've restricted the domain. So now there was nothing. Now let's put this over one fraction. 6 times negative 2, and on bottom we have a squared times a cubed. Can anything divide out? Nope, so we just multiply it together. So that's negative 12 on top. On bottom, when you multiply the same base, we add our exponents. You guys are great. A to the 5th. There's our answer as long as a does not equal 0. Let's look at 2b. Looking at 2b, factor it. Isn't it already factored? So now we know we can write it over one fraction. So on top we have x times x plus 1. We need parentheses around x plus 1 because there's two terms. On bottom, x minus 2 and x minus 3. So now we've put it together. Before we divide anything out, we restrict our domain. The bottom cannot equal 0. So where are my potential bottoms equaling 0? X cannot equal 2 for that piece and 3. Awesome. Now let's divide out exact factors. Are there any? Nope. So there's our answer. Sometimes they simply don't simplify. Do you see how that's the multiplied thing though? So that's our answer. We're all good? Okay, let's do 2D, 2E. Here we go. So we have this times this. Let's factor it. It's already factored. So we multiply straight across. So on top we have 6 times b. On bottom we have 2 and b cubed, right? Okay, let's simplify what we can. Oh, we gotta restrict our domain first. B cubed is just b, b, b. So b cannot equal 0. Very good. Now let's simplify. 6 multiplication can be simplified. So this is 3 over 1. B over b cubed is b squared. Where's the b squared? On bottom. So we have a 3 on top, on bottom a b squared. That's our simplified answer as long as b does not equal 0. Okay, let's look at 2e. So, looking at this one, shouldn't we factor it? Now, wouldn't it be easier to factor it here? This is what I see people do on accident in the future when they start practicing. They multiply and then try to factor it. Isn't that going to be huge down here? Wouldn't you rather just factor it and then multiply so that you're already factored? Okay, so let's factor this piece. Already done. Factoring that, it's quadratic. So what multiplies to be a times c, what multiplies to be negative 10 and adds up to be 3? Which one's negative? Negative 2. Can we quick factor? Yep, our leading coefficients are 1. So this factors to be x plus 5, x minus 2, and then everybody good up to there. Okay. Then we have for this piece x plus 5, that didn't factor. On bottom, not quadratic, it's linear. What do we factor out? GCF? 7 and left is? Okay, awesome. Now we have it factored, so now we can multiply straight across. Let's leave it factored. So we have a 14x on top. We also have x plus 5. On bottom, we have x plus 5. X minus 2. Oops, a 7. I'm going to put it in front. Everybody good with that? Anybody lost? Okay. Now we'll restrict our domain. The bottom cannot equal 0. Right there, x cannot equal negative 5, 2, and 3. Now let's divide out what we can. 14 over 7 is 2 over 1. X, nothing, no x on bottom. X plus 5 become 1s. So left on top was 2x. On bottom, okay, very good. This is our final answer. Everybody feeling good? Ready to practice on your own? Okay, I'll give you a while. So let's not do that one. If you guys are good, I'm good with you. So do 4 through 6 on your worksheet, your homework worksheet. So let's get these as much done as possible in class. So on your worksheet, do 4 through 6 on page 1. You guys are good. 1 through 6, you guys are understanding, so I'm not going to keep teaching. I want you to practice. Okay, look up here at page 1. What number is this? Yikes. Okay, what number is this on page 1? Maybe, oh, it's page 2. Yeah. Problem number 1 on page 2. Flip to that. Here we go. Let's go through it. So we would say to ourselves, okay, we can multiply this, but we don't want to multiply first, then try to factor because it's going to be huge. Let's factor right now and then multiply. So we have a 7. This piece, it's cubic, but we would look and say, can we factor out a GCF? That's always our first step. Yes. 3p squared. Very good. So we're pulling out a 3p squared. Divide by what we pulled out. So left in our parentheses will be 3, what? 3p minus 5. Very good. And then let's factor this piece. It's quadratic, but we're not going to do a times c because there is a GCF, right? 3p. So divide by 3p's, divide by 3p's. So left is 3p, right? 3p minus 5. Everybody feeling good? All over 3p. Now we would multiply straight across. So guys, 7 times 3 is, so we have 21p on top, and we also have 3p minus 5. Numbers are usually the only time I'll multiply them back together, or if like you have p and p. Anyways, on bottom we have a 3 times a 3, which is a 9, right? So 9, and then we have a p squared and a p, which is p cubed, and then we have 3p minus 5. Okay. Yeah, right? Isn't that what we do? No. Is that is what we do, right? No, yeah. Yes. That was a good question. Yep, perfect. Good question. That was absolutely a great question. So we're multiplying straight across, because that would be what we do next. And now we'll simplify. So we have 21 over 9. But don't they both divide by 3? Okay, let's do that then. So that's 7. Guys, there's too much talking going on. So they both divide by 3. So we have 7 over 3. P over p cubed is p squared on bottom. So p squared on bottom 3p minus 5, oh, we should restrict our domain because in the instructions it said that. So before I divide anything out, p cannot equal 0 and 5/3, right? Set that equal to 0 and solve, right? Can I do that without actually doing that, if you don't mind? If I need to, I can. Okay, so then we have that over that becomes 1. So left on top was 7 times 1, so we just have a 7 on top. Left on bottom was a 3p squared. Leave it factored, and then that's it, right? That's our answer as long as p does not equal 0 or 5/3. Everybody feel good about that one? Okay. Okay, so do problem number 2 on page 2. So right now, show me you can do that one, and then we'll keep going. Yep. If you all got this, what answer did you guys all have an answer for that? For number 2 on page 2. Okay, everybody go back to the notes, quickly. Go back to the notes. Here we go. Next example here. If I said to you multiply this should not be hard for you. Here's why. Don't we just see this? Doesn't that technically mean that that's divided by 1? So what do? We factor it and multiply straight across. So right here, that piece doesn't factor. So we have 2n plus 5 on bottom. That does factor. We pull out a 3. Left is n minus 2, correct? Now let's factor the quadratic. What multiplies to be a times c, what multiplies to be negative 6 and adds up to be 1. Listing out factors of 6. Which ones could have to be positive 1? 3 and 2. Which one's negative? 2, right? That works over here and over here. So we can quick factor it because our a value is positive 1. So we're going to put in our parentheses, their m's. So we'll insert that in. It's positive 3. So we put plus 3. It's negative 2. Okay, now we'll multiply straight across. So we have 2n plus 5 times n plus 3 times n minus 2 on top and on bottom. 3 and m minus 2, we better restrict our domain. So m cannot equal 2, or else the bottom would be 0. That would make it undefined. Now divide out exact factors. Ding, ding. That's it, right? So our answer is 2n plus 5, leave it in factored form, times n plus 3, all over 3. As long as n does not equal 2, because then it's really undefined. Feeling good about this? So if you ever have the reason we went through this one is because we had something that didn't have a fraction, but it technically did it with 1. Okay, so do 2h on the notes page. Oh, looks like we're going to have some long factoring, right? You're doing 2h, and I'm going to do it, and you're going to check your answer, but you need to try it by yourself. Thanks, Luis. You're doing 2h. Okay, so I'm going to check it all at once. Is that okay with everybody? So what did this piece factor to be? You have minus 4t minus 9t minus 4t. So you went through and did the whole process. 2t minus 3 times. We go through the whole process, but I expect you to be able to do that on your own. And then what else? What? 3t minus, did everybody get that? Okay. All over 1. So now we multiply straight across. So let's start thinking about this more advancedly. Before I actually multiply straight across and have to rewrite it again, don't we just know things on top can divide with things on bottom? Let's just do that then, instead of rewriting it again. Yeah, I was gonna say that doesn't feel right. That's why I was like, just trusting what you guys said. Hey, Luis, you know how you said this factor to be 2t minus 3? Wasn't the other one t minus 7, right? Holy cow, guys. Yikes. Okay, let's go through it apparently. We have, no, we're going through it. 60 squared, and then you have minus 9t minus 4t plus 6. Guys, then we factor group the first two terms, group the second two terms. What's in common? 3t. So then divide by 3t, divide by 3t. What's left? Okay, Golden, what's in common here? Okay, Luis was right. So then we have 2t minus 3. Look, we know we did it right because we have a safe haven. So pull out 2t minus 3, and left is 3t minus 2. Okay, awesome. So that's on top. We all good? We all agree? Okay, so now that was up here. Yikes. Okay, so 2t minus 3. 3t minus 2. So then now let's divide out exact factors. Ding, ding, that's it. Nope, 2, 2. So our answer is t minus 7 times 3t minus 2 all over 1. So that's our answer. Okay. Yeah, restricted values. Okay. Oh, got it. That's what you were saying was final answer. Okay, so we do know how to factor. Whew. Sorry about my anger issues for a minute. All right, so here we go. Last rule. We're going to learn how to divide polynomials. Well, guess what? Here's one rule. Easiest thing ever. Are you ready to listen to it? Dividing fractions is easy as pie. You flip the second fraction and you multiply. Do you hear that cute little thing? I'm going to say it again. Nope. Dividing fractions is easy as pie. You flip the second fraction and then you just multiply. Do you all hear the saying? So if I said to you what's in the future, if I said to you what's 2/3 divided by 4/3, you say dividing fractions is easy as pie. You flip the second fraction and multiply. So you would just say this is the same thing as I'm going to flip the second fraction, 3 over 4. Does everybody see? This is, nope, you can't. Right now you can. You have to flip the second and multiply. On top we'd have an 8. Oh, I see. Okay, yes, I see what you're saying. But this is mathematically why. You learned how to do that back. That's like a trick. Does that make sense? I get what you're saying now. Yes, that works. I thought you were just saying right here. Okay, everybody good? Okay, so guys right here, if I said to you simplify, you'd say it's division. So I gotta flip the second and then multiply, and then we already know how to multiply. So let's do this one. Or do you guys want me to do one on the worksheet? Your worksheet. Okay, then everyone needs to not talk when I'm teaching because it's rude and there's too much of it going on. Here we go. So let's go to your worksheet. Here we go. So we would say to ourselves, okay, I know how to divide fractions. Dividing fractions easy as pie. Flip the second fraction and multiply. So let's do this. This first fraction doesn't change. Now understand that's called the reciprocal. The reciprocal is just flipping the fractions. Does everybody know what a reciprocal is? So if I say to you, what's the reciprocal of 3? You'd say 1 over 3. Everybody good? Yeah. Okay, here we go. So we have a b plus 10. That didn't factor. We're not changing this piece because you only flipped the second. Let's factor this while we're at it. So we should be pulling out GCF, 8b squared, right? Yeah. So then left will be b plus 10, yeah? Now we got to flip the second and multiply. So now we change it to a multiplication problem. This is going to come on top. This is going to come on bottom. So that's on top, we're factoring it. Well, multiplies to be a times c and adds up to be b. 7 times 3, right? -7, and we can quick factor it. Is everybody following me? Am I going too fast? Be honest? Okay. So we factored the top to be b minus 7, b plus 3. Everybody feeling good? Now that was on bottom. Let's factor it. Well, multiplies to be a times c, which is -49, and adds up to be b, which is 0. 7 times -7, can we quick factor it? So on bottom we have x plus 7 and x minus 7. Okay, B. Yes. You're right. B and B. Okay, now let's think about it. We could rewrite this again all over one fraction, but don't we know that we're going to divide out exact factors? So let's just divide out exact factors. Now that we're getting how it works. Does everybody get it? B plus 10 on top, anything on bottom? Exact factors. Yep. B minus 7, ding ding. B plus 3, nope. Anything else? No. So we're left over on top with a B plus 3. On bottom, 8b squared. And B plus 7. And we needed to restrict our domain. Sorry about that. So we would say, look back before you simplified it. B cannot equal, careful, 0. Don't forget the 0. -10 for that piece. 7 for that piece, and -7 for that piece. Yep, you're awesome. And this is our final answer. Everybody understanding? Okay, so now you know how to divide. So finish your worksheet. Cross out 9 and 10 just because it's extra practice. It's like too much practice. I don't want to assign too much. Does that make sense? So I'm feeling warm and fuzzy. I'm like, they're good at this point. So cross out 9 and 10 on the front worksheet, not on the blue. So erase that if you did that. Go to the white, the front, and cross out 9 and 10. Now the rest of the time is yours to start practicing. So say this saying to yourself a few times. Dividing fractions easy as 5 with the second fraction multiplication.